Welcome to Profit Boss Radio, where successful women have paved the road to their own financial freedom. Each week, your host, Hillary Hendershot, financial coach, money mindset expert, and experienced wealth manager, will help you discover the keys to the wealth and peace of mind you want and deserve in her no-nonsense and authentic style. Starting right now.
Hey, Profit Boss. I'm your host, Hillary Hendershot, certified financial planner and empowerer of women and money everywhere. As you listen to this recording, if you're listening to it as it's released, I'm probably moving this week, moving my house from one house to another in San Jose. Been talking about that on previous episodes. So if you're not up to speed, check out the last 3 episodes where I've been talking about our choice to go ahead and buy a house in one of the most expensive real estate markets in the country. I have one housekeeping item for you today. If you are listening to this as it's released, hey, big news. I am hiring. I'm looking for a paraplanner, or it would be called a paraplanner or junior advisor, someone to join my team as we expand to serve more and more clients on the wealth management, financial planning, and investment side. If you want more details about that, as always, you can go to hillaryhendershot.com/66. I'll have the link to the job description in the show notes, but it's just hillaryhendershot.com/paraplanner to get directly there for everything to know about the job description, requirements, and how to apply. My guest for you today is someone I've been wanting to have on the show forever. She's a fantastic messenger of amazing things for women and money. Her name is Denise Duffield Thomas. I'm just going to warn you, if you listen to the show with your kids around and you might take issue with some of the language that she uses. Actually, not some of the language. She actually has the B word in her title, in what she calls herself, in her platform, in the name of her book, in the name of her course. And so that word does get said in this episode. And so if your kids are around, either maybe listen to this episode, after you drop them off at school or when they're not around, or maybe if you have to, just skip it all together. But I'm just letting you know that word does come up. So Denise Duffield Thomas, by the way, has the most unique bio I've ever seen, is the money mindset mentor for the new wave of online female entrepreneurs. And this is Hillary cutting in. I think that this episode is going to be fantastic, no matter whether you're an entrepreneur or a salaried employee, doesn't matter. Money blocks are universal and impact your negotiations, your wages, your career choice, everything. So don't feel excluded if you aren't a business owner right now. Denise's best-selling books, Lucky Bitch and Get Rich Lucky Bitch, give a fresh and funny roadmap to create an outrageously successful life and business. Denise helps women release their fear of money, set premium prices for their services, and take back control over their finances. Denise is an award-winning speaker, author, and entrepreneur who helps women transform their economy class money mindset into a first-class life. And I really love that phrase. In today's episode, we talk about what are the most common money blocks amongst women, how you can overcome money blocks, how to identify where yours are. And by the way, you definitely have them. And some specific suggestions for you if you have some of the money blocks that a lot of people have, such as, I can't have love and money, or I can't have fun and money, or I can't have a baby and money. So if you've got that going on, you definitely want to take a close listen to today's episode. Please enjoy Denise Duffield Thomas. Welcome, Denise Duffield Thomas, to Profit Boss Radio.
Oh my God. Thank you for having me, Hillary.
Denise, how did you get to be the queen bee destroyer of money blocks? How did this all start for you?
You know what? I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, but until the last couple of years, when I worked on my money blocks, I was terrible at making money out of my businesses. So ideas were never a problem. Creativity, hard work, all that stuff was never a problem for me. But I just had some really conflicting feelings about money, or I just couldn't figure out what was going on. I'm like, hey, I just walked on hot coals. How can I not make money?
What's missing from this picture?
Yes. And it's not even, when I look back at my very first business when I was 8 years old, I didn't make any money out of that either. I'm like, and so it wasn't until maybe I hit like 30, right? And I was, when you go through your Saturn returns and you're just like, oh, I need to make a breakthrough somehow. And I went, you know what? I'm so over this. I have been reading personal development books since I was 14. I've been running businesses since I was 8. Like, maybe it's just not meant to be for me, because I had to always have a job or a side job or 50 side jobs to kind of make my rent. And like with a lot of entrepreneurs, your partner can get a bit impatient. Like, when are you actually going to make some money here? So what I did was I went on an exploration for myself, and I went, okay, how can I explore everything that I've learned about the personal development world, but just apply it to money? And because I'd read about forgiveness and self-love and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, what if I applied forgiveness to money and self-love to my money? And so I kind of just went on this exploration for myself. And then, of course, by that stage, I was starting to make a bit more money I was a life coach and then a business coach. And so I started teaching it to my clients. And then I was like, oh, maybe I could do a class about this, just a one-off. And then maybe I could do a book about this, just a one-off. And I kind of also rejected it. I could feel a very strong calling towards doing the work. And I was like, universe, no, this is just for me. I don't want to teach this. I'm not the money girl. Like, go find someone else. And then I really did. I was just like, no.
What were the kinds of businesses that you ran before? What were you coming from?
Oh my God, Hillary.
Everything?
How long have we got? Okay, so my very first info product was in 2003, and it was a book, an ebook called Internet Dating Tips for Men.
No.
Yes. And I was going to be a dating coach. And, that's just one example. I even remember one time this is before apps too, by the way. I was like, oh my God, there needs to be some sort of way where you can find out which bathrooms have hooks for your handbag. Like, this was such a random, crappy idea, by the way, because I was like, well, all good entrepreneurs, they find a problem and they solve it. And I was like, I'm really sick of putting my handbag like on my lap when I'm in the bathroom. So let's do a hook campaign. And I don't know how I thought I was going to monetize that, by the way. And just everything. I had a green detox queen blog for a while. I had a movie review blog called Niecy's Movie Reviews.
Wow. You're truly an entrepreneur at heart. You're just solving problems everywhere.
Yeah, but there's also, like, what I've realized now is there's some things that shouldn't be a business, like some things that you're outraged at and you want a problem to be solved. That doesn't mean it's your job to solve it.
Right.
Necessarily. Like the toilet hook thing. I still get annoyed by it, but you know what? It's not my business.
Well, you certainly have to look for an area where people are already wanting to spend money. So I don't know that bathroom hooks is that area. Okay. So you were resisting the winds of change. The voice of the universe was saying, Denise must teach this. And what finally tipped the scales for you? Well,
I went and saw Susie Orman at an event. And you know what? I really got it, because I was like, oh, I don't have to be Susie Orman. I was like, oh, I don't need to. I was mulling over, do I need to go back and get some certificates here?
Right.
Like,
do I need to teach the science of personal finance?
Yes. I was like, oh my God, I need to be a financial advisor, or maybe I should, become a CPA, like ridiculous stuff. Right. And then I was like, oh, my job is just to motivate people to change their mindset about money. It's not to advise them on their financial decisions. And once I got that nuance, like that, just a little tweak, I was like, oh my God, I'm allowed to contribute to the conversation. And I think I mistook that calling as to be like, you are the one and there can be only one and you must smite everyone else to take your place. And I was like, no, I can just like take my place in the group of women who are talking about this and just in my little angle. And it really gave me permission. And now I always say that to women. I'm like, just be a voice in the conversation. You don't have to be the only voice. Take your place and have your angle on it and give yourself permission just to be part of it.
I mean, that is really something that I've found for myself. I think coming into this industry calling teaching area, I really thought that I had to be the number one or I was the nothing. And to really just finally discover and resolve for yourself that you're enough, being one of the voices who is contributing, is really just beautiful and very peace inducing.
Yes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm actually good enough today.
Yeah.
So I talk a lot about what I call the money operating system, which is that core strongly held money belief that each individual human being has that holds us back from money success. I actually trademarked that phrase. And those are phrases like there's never enough money, or money is complicated, or you have to work hard for money, or even like money is the root of all evil. And I think what's so great about your message is that about money blocks is that oh, by the way, I should stop and ask you what money blocks are, but let me just make this point and then we'll start from the beginning, is that you really help people see how these core beliefs impact so many things about our relationship to ourself and self-worth and career and like what's possible in the world and gender-based roles or their ability to ask for or earn money or keep money in their life and their investment accounts. I mean, you really have this talent for meeting people where they are and really making it real for people. That's what I feel is a huge gift of yours. I always feel like everything you say is so applicable. So forgive me for not inviting you to say what is a money block, but you talk a lot about money blocks. Would you please say what money blocks are? And then I just want to know where you start with people to identify what their money blocks are.
Yeah, sure. So I don't think there's a really scientific answer to what is a money block, but it's more like what is anything where it could be a belief, a story, a circumstance that holds you back from making the money that you want and to be, do, and have everything you want in the world. So I think a lot of people can feel it. It feels like a fear or a block or like literally like, oh my God, I can't move beyond that, like a wall or a resistance, or you feel like the universe is conspiring against you, or you have immense fear about taking action. And so it really is, it's a self-imposed glass ceiling to taking the next stage in your life and business. And by the way, I'm not someone who thinks everyone needs to be a millionaire, because I think richness and wealth is so personal. And it's so based on you, your values, where you live, things that you want to be, do, and have in the world. And I don't think there's one, perfect answer for that. But that in itself is a block for people, right? Because they think, well, it doesn't count because, I'm not like that person, or maybe I'm not meant to be rich because I don't like wearing high heels and lots of makeup. So therefore, I'm not allowed to make more money. Even that in itself is a block. So I think I've really nailed down, I think now what my mission is, and it's to change the way women think and feel about money, but also to kind of challenge the perceptions of wealth and normalize money so it becomes something that is really personal and, you're allowed to have it however you want. Like it looks different for you. It's based on your own personal values. So that's kind of where I see that whole money block conversation is. Like a lot of people come to my world and go, I don't have any money blocks. And then just maybe just a few little tweaks or hearing about other people's money blocks, they go, oh, actually, yeah, I think I do. And that's okay. I still have money blocks that I work on all the time. And when I say money blocks, they're the same money blocks. They just come up in different ways, no matter what your income is.
Give us an example of that?
Yeah. So you mentioned working hard to make money, right? Mm-hmm. And this is probably the number one money block I see in women. And the number two money block I see in women is feeling that you can help people or make money, but you can't do both. So that's an interesting conversation itself. But the way that my version of working hard comes up, when I first started making money in my business, and I'm literally talking my first month, I made $200, right? And I was thrilled about it. But I also had conflicting feelings about it because all I did, in inverted commas, to earn that money was to talk on the phone to people and to like motivate people. Like I think I ran a workshop and I got like one client out of it. So I was like, that really hit against my belief that you had to do something unpleasant. You had to put your blood, sweat, and tears into something to earn the money. So I felt like I didn't earn it. And when I created my first book, which was an ebook that sold for like $10, right? Every time someone bought it, I felt sick. I felt like I had to call them up and like go over to their house and read it to them to earn that $10. Which sounds ridiculous. But again, I come from a family where people work really hard for their money.
Yeah.
And you can, and people hear that in different ways, right? So my mum actually had to like work in nursing homes, like wiping old people's butts for that money, right? But someone else could hear it and go, yeah, actually my dad was a lawyer and he had to work 100 hours a week and he was never home and he had to work hard for his money too. So that's why I say to people like, money blocks go across socioeconomic lines. It really doesn't matter how you grew up around money. You can still have the same money block.
Yes. So your method of teaching or coaching, how do you don't coach people one-on-one, right? You sort of present these methods or lessons for people to see themselves in and sort of transcend. I guess my core question is, how do people break through their money blocks with you?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I have a course called the Lucky Bitch Money Bootcamp, and this is where I teach, some of this stuff. And I've got a book called Get Rich Lucky Bitch. And one of the first exercises that I get people to do is to do an inventory of their money memories. And this could be, and I give a whole bunch of prompts because otherwise some people will just go, oh, where do I start? But it's like, okay, what did your parents tell you about money? What did they show you about money? Do you have any memories of people fighting about money in your family? What do you remember about pocket money or presents or Christmas or birthdays? And usually people come up with a whole bunch of stuff. And then you start to see patterns. So you might have seen a pattern where your family's motto was like, you have to work hard to make money. Like it might have been that explicit where people go, you don't get something for nothing, right, or money doesn't grow on trees, or, all that kind of stuff. And then how did they talk about other people? So if you were rich, how did they talk about poor people? If you were poor, how did they talk about rich people? And every permutation between, because that is where you find the gold of how you are living with money today. You could see that you're totally sabotaging yourself because you were trying to overcompensate for something that happened as a kid. Like, for example, I see entrepreneurs make heaps of money and spend it all, and they're overcompensating for not having things as a kid.
Right.
So you want to see where you're either living the values as if they were true, or you're overcompensating because you're trying to disprove them. And honestly, that exercise in itself is so powerful for people just to realize, oh my God, I am totally doing this to like annoy my dad. Oh my God, like I'm killing my business because I'm trying to live up to a family motto that we have or something. And it's turning the unconscious conscious, right, is really the first step.
Okay. So what would you say, for example, to a woman who feels trapped, like she can't ever earn more than she's earning? Like for her, she would just say to you, Denise, I'll never earn more. I just don't have the skills. I'm not smart enough. Like there'll never be enough wealth for me. Do you so you would start with her childhood memories about money, and how do you instill a sense of confidence or self-worth, do you think?
Yeah. Well, that, as I said, that awareness is definitely the first step to see where she might be sabotaging herself. Or here's the thing too, one of those exercises, a little tweak to it is, what are you afraid of if you made more money? And there's another way to uncover some interesting beliefs, because a lot of women are afraid of rejection, losing friends, losing lovers, losing family because of money. So really examining what you're afraid of. Like if you just got all the money that you wanted tomorrow, what are all the negatives attached to that? What are potential negatives and potential downsides? And at first it can be hard for people to think of it, especially if they've been immersed in the personal development world for a long time, because they're like, no, must be positive all the time. Like must put a positive spin on it. And I was like, let's just go to the dark side for a little bit and work out what are all the bad stuff that could happen here. So for a lot of women, they think there's a belief, and it all comes down to what's the belief? There's a belief, I can't have love and money. I have to choose. I can't have health and money. I have to choose. I can't be a good mom and have money. I have to choose. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone's got probably a primary one, but I would say that most women probably have ones in all of those areas. We're like, oh no, if I make money, that means that I think that money is more important than the people in my life. Oh, well then I'm not going to make more money. And it's all completely unconscious, and it's all very, if you were to ask yourself if you're sabotaging your income, you'd say, no, it's the economy, or it's not the right, maybe I'm not organized enough, or maybe I need another certificate, or maybe it's my accent. You can really push it out and make all these excuses, but a lot of it just comes down to your own fears and beliefs that making money wouldn't be a good thing for you. I teach it and I'm still working on it all the time. And I want to give you an example of this, because when I said that working hard to make money thing, it's just going to be always there for most of us. So even though I felt really conflicted when I was making $10 at a time, it comes up for me at every single level of business in different ways. It comes up like, this is not fair that it's easy for me to make money and it's not for other people. This is not fair that there's inequality in the world, so therefore maybe I shouldn't make any more money. It's not fair, blah, 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 blah. And I'll tell you how it's coming up for me right at this moment. It's my husband. He quit his job a year ago, right? And it took him a while for him to go, oh, actually, maybe I will do a bit of work in your business. And now that he's fully entrenched in my business and he's done a couple of launches now, I'm like, but this doesn't count. I don't want anyone to know that my husband's working their business, because then they're going to think that I'm this lucky bitch who does nothing and who makes all this money, and people are not going to like me. So it's like the same thing though. It's the same thing, just the numbers are different. There's just a couple of extra zeros on my income, but it's the same old BS. So that's why I say to people, like, even though at the start when someone comes in my world, I'm like, yeah, clear your money blocks. But as they get further in, I'm like, you're never actually going to clear them, like you're just going to dance with them. And you're
just going to add a few zeros at a time.
Yeah, but they're always going to be there, and that's okay. And that's where I think you can give yourself permission to be like, oh my God, I just make more money, but I'm still like the same person. I'm still flawed. I'm still working on my stuff. And that's why with my boot camp, we've got people in there who've never made any money from their business, and people in there who have got 7-figure businesses. And it's so equal, right? It's like we're all working on the same stuff. And it doesn't matter that our incomes are different, because humans, we're just working on the same human stuff, and no one's better or worse. It's just money. Yeah.
I loved something you wrote in an article called 37 Lessons from Becoming a Self-Made Millionaire. You said, part of my role in the world is normalizing wealth for women. And I think I wanted to cry and sing. Just everything about me resonates with that. I had a campaign in October of last year called Women's Financial Freedom Month, where every interview and article I published was about normalizing wealth, was about how much people have, how much it takes, what it's like when you get there, and why it's okay. But still, what we read in the data is that at the same time, women are coming into more wealth, women are inheriting wealth and earning more wealth, that you're shying away from accumulating assets. It just seems like somehow maybe self-worth is tied to net worth. And I'm wondering, what it's going to take to really break that up. How would you describe the problem, and where do you see yourself as a part of that mission?
Yeah, well, I definitely see it as a gender thing. I think we've been taught from such a young age that maybe we're not so good with numbers, and there's statistics that prove that. And that's why, a lot of women don't go into the STEM fields too, right? Because there's definite gender bias in there. And I honestly thought that I'd gotten rid of some of that until we hired a financial advisor. And it was 3 years ago now. And I remember sitting down and we had our baby with us. And I remember thinking, there's a little voice in my head that says, if the baby cries, I'll go out and let the men talk about money. And it was just this moment of like, wow, what the heck? Like, seriously, what the F? Because the only reason in the first place we're meeting with a financial advisor is because we
you made the money.
Yes, right. Because my hubby was in a salaried job that hadn't had a pay increase for 5 years. And suddenly we've got all this extra cash from my business to invest. But there was just that thought of like, oh, just let the men folk talk about money because, and I've got a limited tolerance to financial details for sure. I still use my calculator all the time. I admit that. So what I did was I caught myself in that moment and I said, it was a dick move, I have to admit, but it was a power play. I said, hey guys, Mark, the baby needs to be changed. Why don't you go change the baby and I'll tell the guys a bit more about my business so they understand it.
Good for you.
Because I needed to do something to pull back my power and to show the people in the room, this is me that's created this. And I'm glad I did that, because now when we have the financial planning meetings, which is hilarious, we told them we wanted to buy this massive big house. And I said, okay, guys, you tell me how much money we need. I'll go away and make the money and I'll bring it back. And again, I needed to do those things just to be like, you know what? I can handle this, and I can handle these situations that might feel a bit scary or complicated. And so I really recommend women, if any of that resonates with you, maybe you've met with an accountant and you've like sweated and like, oh, like go and explore what beliefs are behind that. Do you think, maybe there's something you need to release and clear from your past? Maybe your family told you weren't good with money, or that, money burns a hole through your pocket and you were like 6 and you've internalized that, or a teacher said, girls can't do math, or whatever it is. Letting that go will then let you be in those situations without fear.
I have a client who's a very wealthy Silicon Valley entrepreneur, and his wife actually I obviously email my clients, and then I have emails that I send every week to other people on the larger list. She actually asked to be removed from the list. And I said, my goodness, how have I failed at my job, right? Because I always make an effort to focus on speaking. I mean, at this point, it's usually the wife who hires me, but there was a time when my branding wasn't developed the way that it is. And I think of that as one of my bigger failings as a professional, is that I was not able to connect with her in such a way that she at least wanted to hear from me, But other than that, I definitely work with a cohort of women who are very empowered about their finances. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're inspired by conversations about the stock market or the S&P 500 or the Fed funds rate.
Yeah, I'm not.
I know.
And even in the last financial meeting, we were talking about insurance, because, each time we increase our net worth, we have to reevaluate our insurance position. And like, I could sit through 5 minutes of it, and I'm like, I'm just going to go to the bathroom. When I come back, can you guys just like talk about what you need to, and then just give me the upshot of that conversation? And that's okay. But women, I think we internalize that stuff as, oh my God, I still have to use my calculator for simple sums. That must mean I can't handle more wealth, or, I find that stuff boring. That must mean X, Y, Z. And we got to stop that. And that's the whole point of normalizing wealth, where we can talk about, hey, you know what? That's cool. You can hate those conversations and still have money. You can still find ways to be a good steward of your money without having to know everything about it, without having to go get another certificate.
You can hire that out. Yes.
Yes. I hear so many women who go, oh, I really should do my own books so I can, have a handle on my finances. And it's like, dude, if that's not your zone of genius, like hire that out, but then get them to send you reports. Like, stop punishing yourself and trying to think you have to be better at certain things to be deserving of more money. You don't.
As long as you're the one signing the checks and you know that no one's taking money out of your account without your permission, you certainly do not have to do your own bookkeeping. I definitely do not.
No. And I heard Oprah say that too. I think that she personally signs every check over $1,000 or something, right?
Good for her.
I just thought, holy crap, I don't know if that's the exact number, but she pays attention, and there's a difference of paying attention and, burying your head in the sand. But I think some people think, well, unless I go back and get a certificate, then no, who's going to give me money? I'm not allowed to have money.
So let's talk about something you recently published about the lady mafia.
Yes.
What is the lady mafia?
Well, you know what? When women are in business, I say this to my girlfriends in business, I'm like, it can be really freaking scary being in business for yourself. It's going to bring up all your shit. Like, it's going to bring up all your insecurities about yourself, and it's hard, right? So I just want people to hear that right off the bat, because it's not all like, oh my gosh, I'm just a lucky bitch and everything's great. I'm like, oh my God, am I allowed to do this? Like, on a daily basis, I'm still scared. So what is so important for women in business is you need women around you who have your back, who you can have these honest conversations with, who you can call and say, I'm just about to hit, publish on this thing and I'm dying with fear, or, whatever it is. And this could be a mastermind. It could be a coach. I've just got a girlfriend. We have mani-pedis like once a month and talk business. You need people who are your ride or die girlfriends who understand, because as Brene Brown says, they're in the arena with you and they get it.
Yeah. So this article that you published mentioned specifically upgrading your Lady Mafia. Have you had to upgrade your Lady Mafia?
Yeah, tons of times. Yeah. When I first moved to my local town, I joined a business club, and they weren't online entrepreneurs. And I remember thinking, I was charging, I think, $70 as a coach, and they're like, "Oh, you're a bit on the pricey side." And I remember thinking, this ain't my tribe.
Yeah.
This ain't my tribe of people who are going to shame me for charging $70 an hour.
Listen, you $70 people.
Yeah, and it's cool. That's great. They've got a great Lady Mafia, and they meet all the time. That wasn't my tribe. So, and it's not about rejecting people of oh, she's not making as much money as I am, but I think you need to be around people who get you, have similar energy to you, or in some cases similar ambition. It really helps. The girlfriend I mentioned that we meet up for petties, she works with her hubby as well. Mm. So we text each other and I'm going to kill him. And yeah, you just need that kind of support. And we're in completely different industries, but you need that. Otherwise it's scary and lonely by yourself, and you're probably more likely to quit if you don't know any entrepreneurs who are in the game with you. And we've all done that too at the start of your business. You meet up with a friend and you go, "Oh, I've just published a blog post." And they're like, "Oh, why don't you just get a job?" You don't need that kind of negativity in your life. And I'm not saying get rid of those people as friends. It's just that sometimes when you don't have that Lady Mafia, you try and get validation from inappropriate sources. You try and get your mom to understand what you do, or,
yes.
Your best friend from high school. And it's just inappropriate sometimes to have those kind of conversations with those people and expect to get what you want from it.
Yeah, it can really break your heart if you need it and they don't respond in the way that you want them to. And isn't empowerment a really key part of your mission?
It is. And I think that's part of my mission now. It's changing the way women think and feel about money, but there's a bigger mission for me now as well, and it's about alleviating global poverty, which feels huge, and I'm feeling those same thing as before of there's so many people who are contributing to that, right? But there's that part of me that's like, that's such a big mission. Who are you to claim that? And it's like, no, the world needs lots of us to claim that, and it starts with us, and we change our own views about money. When we make more money, we pay taxes, we hire other women, we donate money to our favorite causes, we help other women empower that just by virtue of us changing our vibration around money. And I think every woman who can really has a moral kind of imperative to the world, a moral mission to empower ourselves and then empower other women too, because sorry, ladies, but it's up to us to alleviate global poverty.
It really is.
It hasn't worked so far with what other people have been doing, and it's got to come from us.
I think what's really incredible about your voice being part of that mission is that you're one of a few people who's actually trying to solve the root of the problem. So many other people in trying to cure poverty want governments to take it on, which is fundamentally taking from one person and giving it to another, or charities, in that case, gifting from people to give to another. But if people's money ecosystems are still broken, we know that throwing money at the problem won't help. So, it's messages like this that really, I think, stand a chance of actually surmounting the problem.
And we've got to attack every problem from all angles. And that is why, when people hear this again, this is why your voice is so needed, because whatever problem you're trying to solve, you're like, oh, but I could be solving this one, and we can get so overwhelmed. It's just focus on the problem that you're trying to solve and just trust that other people are, hitting those little gaps. It's enough what you're doing. Yeah. That's my big thing.
It is enough.
We could talk about this for days.
I love that it's enough. And if people would like to find out more about that or more about you or your message, where can they find you?
Well, a very first point of call is to go to luckybitch.com/blocks, because I've got a free little workshop, and it talks about blocks, but it talks about some very specific examples of how if you've got blocks in your life. I think that's a great introduction to money blocks, or a great reminder if you're hitting a new level of your own money blocks.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to issue then a challenge to the readership. If you're inspired by this interview and you download or listen to Denise's Money Blocks training, tag us on Instagram. How's that? Instagram.
Yes.
And tell us what you learned. Show us a picture of yourself and let us know what money blocks you're breaking through.
That would be awesome. And my Instagram handle is Denise DT.
Denise, thank you so much for being on Profit Boss Radio. It's great to finally connect with you. I feel like we've had parallel or complementary messages and businesses for a long time. And to finally get you on the show is awesome. And I'm hoping for more collaboration and partnership in the future because we're both up to the same thing. So thank you.
Yay. Thank you so much for all you do in the world. I know your audience absolutely loves you and I appreciate being a part of it.
Thanks. So Denise and I were totally serious about that Instagram challenge. I would love for you, wherever you are right now, jump on your web browser, go to hillaryhendershot.com/66. In the show notes for today's episode, you can find Denise and my Instagram handles in case you missed it. It's Denise DT and Profit Boss Radio. Head on over to Instagram, put a picture of yourself and let us know what money blocks you're going to break through today as a result of today's interview. And then right there on the show notes, you can also complete my brief 2 to 3 minute listener survey at hillaryhendershot.com/66. The direct route to the listener survey is hillaryhendershot.com/podcast survey. Thanks, Profit Bosses. Profit Boss, do you hate getting unsolicited advice? I kind of do. Whether it's well-intentioned or not, any kind of splaining just feels, I don't know, sort of aggressive and unwelcome. Of course, when I see someone who's important to me and they're struggling, sometimes it's tough to bite my tongue and just be there for them. So it's kind of a conundrum, right? We aren't here to run our friends' lives, no matter how well qualified we are to do it. On the other hand, if you discover something that's really made a difference to you, don't you just want to share it with everyone? I mean, it would be really presumptuous of me to just assume that my little podcast is something every listener just can't wait to share. But I do know what I hear from my listeners about how Profit Boss Radio has helped them to start changing old money habits and feel more in control and hopeful about getting out in front of their financial security. And I have to think that for every person I've reached, there are thousands more who might feel the same way if they get the chance. So if you're one of my listeners or in our Facebook group and you know at least 1 or 2 people in your social network could use an encouraging word, let me invite you to let them know about the podcast and about our Facebook group. Just hit the share button in your podcast app. It'll give you a good feeling, I promise. And you'll be helping me accomplish my big, audacious goal of empowering 1 million women to take charge of their financial futures and become millionaires. Lastly, let me just say I'm truly honored to have earned a place in your busy schedule. I know you've got a lot of demands on your time and attention, and I'm so totally grateful for the little part of it that you share with me. So thank you, and let's get together next week for another episode of PBR.
Thank you for listening to Profit Boss Radio, where creating success on our own terms happens every day. You're not alone in your journey to a rich life, and that's why Hillary is here to add value in each and every episode. See you next time on the podcast for women and money.